I wish I could have you as the autoresponder to some of my customer service emails. That I should have
Dude,
this story.
what's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review podcast. I've got a special guest today. This is Mike Sosinski. He is owner-operator of Bad Time Records. I know you've heard me mention them before. Also plays guitar, lead guitar, and vocals in Kill Lincoln, a ska band that I know you've heard me mention before. So what's up, Mike? How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, man. I've actually been trying to get a hold of you for a while for a specific reason, man. I wanted to talk to you because you did something for me a long time ago. I don't know if you'll remember this.
Uh-oh.
No, it was good. Like, this is what
I hope it was good. Yeah.
So I've been doing YouTube for 4 years, but I've had this channel for like 5 months. I basically have quit the other stuff and started anew. So I'm not unfamiliar with this platform, but I wanted to lean into the punk and punk adjacent stuff because that's where my heart lies. That's the stuff I've been doing my whole life.
Yeah, sure.
So like 2.5 years ago, man, I don't know. When did Catbite's first LP drop?
That was like 2019.
So that was like, okay, so I was late to the party, and I found them around the time of the second press. So I bought a first press on Discogs, and because I collect pink vinyl specifically, so I wanted the first press on pink.
Yeah,
yeah, and I got the damaged jacket, and you went through the trouble of sending me a replacement jacket.
Yeah.
So like, I've always remembered that. I've always bought stuff from y'all. I've supported the label because of that. And dude, that's something that I think is pretty awesome. So anybody out there that has any kind of idea at all about anything that Bad Time puts out, you can be assured that they're gonna do everything they can to make the customer service worth coming back.
I wish I could have you as the autoresponder to some of my customer service emails. That I should have this story. No, I appreciate that. Of course, like if something gets messed up, I don't want you to have to just live with it. I always try to help out when I can. So
I mean, I've been in customer service my whole life, and I have a small label that I do too. It's not near as big as Bad Time, but I do cassettes and stuff, and I get, dude. Yeah. I own a record store, man. Ain't nothing you can do to please some people. So
that's for sure. Yeah,
man. Sometimes they walk in the place they're just mad, bro. Like having a bad day. Like,
yeah,
and it's like,
and
then you're having a bad day because of them. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't think about it, and you're like, man, should I go in on this dude? And you're like, I can't do that because I don't really know the situation. But it's tough, man. But I appreciate it. I remember it. And so thank you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I'm happy to help. I remember because you post on Facebook or something. You were like, I'm looking for pink. I like pink vinyl, so I'm trying to get that. I'm glad you got the copy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was posted it on the Facebook group. Actually, that's what it was. I bought it through Facebook, not through Discogs. Somebody on Facebook was like, I got one you can buy. And then when they shipped it, they packed it fine. But my postman was a douche and like threw it, and it dinged the corner real bad. I mean, like bad. So bad enough to where I would reach out. And you didn't even charge me for it. It was super cool, man. So
that's hell yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to help, man.
I would love to know a little bit more about Bad Time Records, man, because I think that you're the premier ska label right now. And I mean, you just put out a freaking Mustard Plug record, dude. Like, so
yeah, that was a dream. That was a dream come true for sure. Yeah,
I'm sure it was. So what was the reason for the label getting started? Was it to put out your own records, or was it to help a friend, or what got you guys going?
I mean, it was catalyzed by, I wanted to put out this Kill Lincoln EP we did, Good Riddance, Good Advice. I wanted to put it on vinyl. It never got a vinyl release. When we put that record out as the band was going on hiatus, so it didn't really get like a real good release. And at the same time, I was like, well, I don't want this to be on any other label. I want to do it myself, but why don't I start a label? I knew tons of people in the ska scene. I mean, I've been in Kill Lincoln since 2008, and I was in a Ska-Punk band before that when I was in high school. So I've been playing ska or Ska-Punk, whatever, for a long time. And through Kill Lincoln, through setting up shows locally, like we met a lot of bands. Bands would come through from Jersey, New York. We were in DC, Chicago. They'd come up and we'd set them up with shows. So I wound up meeting a lot of people And then that's how you know, when you go on tour yourself, that's how you book your show. You hook
Right.
somebody up in your town and they'll help you out in their town. So I developed this sort of like network of friends, you know, that in this underground ska scene. And it just made sense to turn that group of people into something more, I don't want to call it formal, but something more organized, like the label. That's
a good word for it.
Yeah, it was just to put the community together, to put a name to it, because we've had it for a long time, and we've all been working together for a long time, long before Bad Time. So yeah, it just made sense to start that up, and so I could do my own band stuff, so I could help out some friends, and just work on music.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've done a couple of little imprints. I did one way back in the early 2000s, and I've been in bands and such. And I think I'm more fitted to do what I'm doing now with talking to folks, promo,
Sure.
Doing my little label. I have a very specific. I'm very like detail oriented, and I like presentation means a lot to me.
Sure.
And so whenever I find another label that does the same things, I always really appreciate it, because I do real small stuff, man. I mean, like, this is one of the guys that I'm hanging out with, man, and I always wear their shirts because I want people to listen to them. And I do like pressing cards where they're all numbered. It's a lot of work.
That's the stuff that matters, man. The little details, the presentation. It matters.
Bro, I can't imagine how much work it is to do something on the level of what you're doing. Is it just you doing it, or do you have any employees?
It's just me. I don't have any employees.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah. I mean, when I lived in California, I had a couple steady volunteers that would come by. My buddy Jorge, who runs he's like a Less Than Jake vinyl collector. He was just a great dude. He'd come over, he'd help me pack records, you know, but no employees, just doing it myself. And, you know, it just takes time. I mean, I have respect for anybody who runs a label of any size, like doing it yourself. Like, it's a lot of work, no matter whether you're doing 20 tapes or 500, whatever, like, it's a lot. So I'm
having to learn Photoshop to do this stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not a tech guy.
So, you need to. Yeah, you gotta know
it's interesting. And I absolutely stumbled into these guys. These are like some friends of mine that I was like a fan of, and it just kind of accidentally happened. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll put out your tape, dude. And so then it was like,
I like the name. Yeah.
Bro, they're so good. It's like a dark wave boy band. It's really good stuff, man.
Hell yeah. I'll check it out. Hell yeah.
They dude, it's wild. I wish I lost my house or apartment in Hurricane Harvey a few years back.
Oh wow.
And bro, it changed my life. It changed the way I think about stuff, the way I look at like physical things. Wow. I'm not attached to them the way I used to be, because I watched it all just go up. And, you know, I'm more concerned about my kids and even their belongings, you know.
Sure.
But I had a photo, or at least I had some photos back in the day. You said you had buddies come over and help you do stuff when you're working with the label. Back in 2000, I think 2 or 3, I put out a CD for a band called Grave Robbers. It was like a metal, like horrorcore band. They're really good. And I had photos of, we got all the CDs, because back then you had to cut costs wherever you could. So I had them send me the trays, the jewel cases, the discs, and the inserts separate.
Put them together.
We did like, I think the first run was 1,000. And there was like photos of all that crap all over my apartment. We were like, you know, drinking beers and putting together CDs. It was a good time, man. It was a lot of work, but it was a good time. I miss those days sometimes.
It's fun for a while, right? It's like the first like couple hours are fun, and then you get to like hour 4 and you're like, fuck this.
That's exactly what it is. You get all stoked. You're like, yeah, dude, it's like adrenaline. And then it kind of wears off. And you're like, yo, we need to hurry up and get this crap done. And then you start getting like past the point of wanting to drink. So you're like, not kind of catching a buzz anymore, and you're like, now you're like, man, now I'm kind of hungry. I want to go to bed.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun for a little while. You know, I've been lucky enough to have a lot of people help out. Like my wife has helped out. Like when we did like the Ska Against Racism comp a couple years ago, that was right in like the worst parts of COVID. So like a bunch of people were supposed to come help ship all that out. It was like 1,500 records, but we were like, we just got to do it ourselves. So it's just me and my wife. We took like 2 long days, just like probably like 10, 12-hour days, just did all of it. But it is fun for the first little bit. You're like, hey, cool. Like we'll put on a movie, we'll put on some music, we'll like, you know, have a drink, whatever. But like after a while, you're like, this sucks.
Dude, you're not paying attention to the movie. The music's already been on repeat for like 3 hours. Like you turn this shit off.
You get tired.
My wife would, I would be in a hot mess without my wife, so I totally understand that one.
Same.
You guys have any kids or anything?
No kids.
No kids, huh?
Nope.
Yeah, I got
Nope.
3 of them little monsters, bro.
Mm.
It's amazing, but
Yeah.
it's different. It's different,
Sure,
man. There's
I
a lot
bet.
of limitations. I'm actually taking my first vacation of my whole life on Monday.
Congrats, dude.
I've
Good.
never been anywhere. I've never left the state of Texas. I've never traveled. I'm going
Holy
to Vegas
shit.
with just my wife, bro. I cannot wait to spend some time with her alone.
Nice. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy
Dude,
it.
it's gonna be awesome. You know we're going
That's
to the
great.
Punk Rock Museum, bro. Got
Yes,
to.
of course.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course. Yeah. Enjoy. Hell yeah. That's great.
So how do you decide what bands you want to work with? Because you've got a pretty eclectic mix of artists on the label. Who
Mhm.
all's currently on there still like active? I know Catbite, of course. Jer's on there still doing stuff. Mustard Plug.
Yeah, Catbite, Jer. I mean, a lot of the bands, Omnigone is
Are they still doing
active.
stuff?
Yeah, Omnigone is all over the place. I mean, the Pomps play shows. The Holophonics play shows. I mean, all the bands that are on the label are still pretty active. Stuck Lucky still plays shows. That's an older
Wait,
band.
you have Stuck Lucky on the label?
Yeah, we did. We did a Stuck Lucky and Still Live split in
What?
2020. Yeah, dude.
I just must have missed that. I have
Well, we only made
old.
300 copies of it, so there's
Oh,
not a
okay.
lot. Yeah, there's not a lot out there. Yeah,
No,
that was an early one.
that's a small pressing, but I mean, sometimes you have
Yeah.
to do a pressing that size.
Yeah, that was how. I mean, everything before that Kill Lincoln record and Ska Against Racism, Bad Operation. That before that run, everything was like pressing a 300, pressing a. I think maybe I did 500 of something. Omnigone.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, it was all very small pressings. But
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
but
That's
now
so
it's
much fun.
all it's grown.
I
Yeah.
actually know Stuck Lucky from like way back.
Oh yeah, they've been
Well, yeah,
around.
I have a whole CD of theirs, dude. It's like a hand drawn. It's
Yeah,
old
yeah.
school, man. It's in my store right now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude. I like. I got the attention for your label came from Catbite. I didn't know about Bad Time, and I don't even remember how I heard of Catbite. I stumbled across them someday, and I was like, oh, that is an interesting sound, and I was like, it's familiar, but I couldn't figure out what it sounded like to me. And then like a week into it, I'm like, oh, it sounds kind of like that band, The Gadgets. Do you remember those guys?
Yeah, yep.
And I was like, not the same, but like
Gadgets.
into the same kind of
Yeah, it's
subgenre.
too Tony, garagey, a little bit all over. Yeah,
almost like mod rock mixed with ska.
Yeah,
And
yep. Very in that vein. Yeah.
So I looked into that and found them, and then I realized that there was a small label operating that does only ska, and I was very impressed with it, man. And I've been following you ever since.
Oh, thanks, man.
I don't know, man. It's such a wild world. I didn't know ska had such a healthy underground scene right now. It does. There's a lot of people. Every time I do a video on ska, it gets a good reception.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, like before Bad Time, we've had this underground scene. I mean, ska ever since the boom, right? Ever since things kind of boomed and then collapsed late 90s, like there has been a consistent, strong underground scene. It's just, I think, been a little, I don't know, it's a little hard to track unless you're really into one of your, a local band that's doing a lot of stuff, or you're in a band or something like that. But it's always been around. I think it's just getting a little bit of attention now. And part of it, I think, is that we've sort of organized, like
right.
We've come together, and some bands under Bad Time, and there are lots of bands doing their thing. And not related to the label also. I mean, there's just there's lots of ska right now, and there's lots of great ska. It's a good time.
Well, with social media becoming so prevalent in our everyday lives, like it's just something that we kind of depend on now. That enables small little cultures of people to be healthy, thriving, and relevant to their own people. We don't need, like, I can do my little YouTube thing and actually have like some income and a small fan base that helps me keep doing my thing. And I don't need to be famous. I don't need to have, because I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't need millions of dollars to live. So if I can make X dollars, I just got to fill up my bucket. It doesn't matter how I get there. Every drop counts.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It does. I mean, a lot of the bands talk about this, but like, we don't want another. People talk about the fourth wave or whatever, like ska going mainstream again. It's like, we don't really need that. I want the bands to do as well as they can, and but to be able to stay true to what they want to do. But like we're doing really well, like in our scene, in our group. There are a lot of people who are interested. There's a lot of people who are supportive, and thanks to the internet, mostly, like we can gather all these people very easily, and we keep expanding. We keep expanding to people who don't. I can't tell you how many people we met on this. We did the Bad Time tour this year. How many people I talked to where they said it was their first ska show. It was like tons of people.
Dude, that's awesome.
I was shocked. Yeah, like we had Drew from Kill Lincoln doing interviews like for the film that we're making, and so many people he talked to said it was their first ska show, and I thought that was so fucking cool.
That is awesome
and very surprising to me. So we're the circle is expanding, but it's a very healthy circle.
That's amazing.
So, yeah,
I took my daughter. Let's see, she just turned 9, so about a year ago, I took her to her first show, and it was Catbite and Streetlight Manifesto.
Nice.
Yeah. She got to meet the Catbite folks because I've talked to them enough to where I kind of was like, hey, any chance you can come up and say hi to my daughter? She would love it.
Yeah.
And they came up, took a couple photos, and they were real sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that was a fun show. I'm trying to get her interested in I let her do whatever she wants because I don't want to force feed her any kind of anything.
Sure.
But she seems interested enough in what I'm doing to where I hey, girls do this stuff as much as guys do. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, days and days. I showed her, dude, everything from X-ray specs to, dude, all the Tigray, all this just Riot Girl stuff, female-led ska stuff, the Distillers, the Interrupters, and she's like, whoa. So I'll make her little mixtapes and stuff, man.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Little punk rock baby over here.
That's great. That's awesome.
It's a lot of fun when your kids. Like my son just started watching horror movies with me, so now I have one in each. I'm like I can do this with him and then this with her, and it's pretty amazing. Cool. It's pretty amazing. Cool. How do you feel about all these? Okay, so how do I structure this question? I clearly, I don't know if you can see it, but I guess not very well in this angle. I have a lot of vinyl. And I own a record store. It's a little small thing, but it's full of vinyl, man. And I do mostly punk, ska, reggae, hardcore.
Yeah.
For the longest time, stuff like, excuse me, Real Big Fish, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. These were 90s records that were on major labels, and they were impossible to get. Even Less Than Jake stuff was really hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the collector's market, and how do you feel about these represses that are coming out?
I've never been a big rare vinyl collector. I was always I got into vinyl just to support my friends who were putting vinyl out.
Okay.
But recently awesome. There's a couple records I've gone after. I was like, all right, I got to get an original pressing. Let's face it. I want that. So that's one I got
too.
Yeah, the big rig pressing and the red one. Yeah, I was like, all right, that's my band. So I'm like, all right, I got
dude, that's amazing.
But there's not too many other records that I'll go and shell out hundreds of bucks for or something like that. And I don't know. But the repress market is strong right now. I think because just more people are interested in vinyl in general, and they missed out, right? So if you never got an opportunity to get one of these classic records and it comes up, that's cool. I don't appreciate when the pressing is by someone who just went out and bought the license, didn't work with the band, didn't consult with the band at all. And then that happens all the time. I mean,
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It's weird. It's weird to me.
It's business, right? When you're on a major label, they're like, here, you can go buy the license. You can put out whatever. They'll sell to anybody who wants to pay. So that's kind of a bummer. I mean, if you want to do that, but you want to involve the band somehow, or you want to at least get there, okay, that's great. Go for it. But if it's I've just seen too many times where it's something comes out and the band doesn't even know. It's
I just can't imagine doing that. Being let's just say Less Than Jake. Let's say I got the rights to a Less Than Jake record, and I wanted to put out Hello Rock View. I wanted to do my own hot pink pressing with the original artwork, and then I was gonna have a special insert.
Yeah.
And because I love that band, but then I didn't tell them. They had no idea what to put out. I can't imagine being proud of that at all. I would be I would feel kind of slimy, because
it's a little weird.
They're likely not going to say anything other than cool, but unless they have a real specific reason not to, in that case, I would want to know.
Yeah. But, well, that's usually just, if the band got into a bad deal or something, when they were doing those major records, they probably don't control a lot of them anymore, right? So they probably have already made peace with whatever's going to happen with that happens. So they're probably not going to
especially
but still,
90s stuff. It got so big.
Mm-hmm.
And back then it was CD or bust. It didn't really do a lot of vinyl. So the original pressings are harder to get. I guess if it's done the right way, it's a good thing. I think it's cool mainly because of the difficulty finding some of these pressings. I personally collect vinyl and I like rare stuff for myself. I don't really like flipping it mostly. I mean, whatever, I guess. I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I have a record shop and so I got to make money. But I don't like to, how do I say this? Like if somebody's putting out a record and they say it's 500 limited copies and you can only get one copy per household, like that doesn't bother me per se. Like it is what it is, man. They have the right to do that. Now, if I want to sell my copy, that's my prerogative. I own it. But
that's
it's like
fine.
All these bots and stuff. It's such a weird market. I don't understand any of it.
Yeah, that's frustrating when it comes down to scammers. And like, I don't appreciate if you buy something limited, you got it and it's worth something and you go sell, somebody wants to pay a certain amount for it, fine. But if it's like the thing the one that really bothered me was with Ska Against Racism, right? We did that. It was limited pressing. Well, that was all that was for charity. That was for various Black Lives Matter charities and organizations. And every cent went to those groups. And then I see people who got the record and then they put it on Discogs for $400. And it's like, well, okay. Now you're profiting off of our good.
Yeah.
Well, that bothers me,
And that's a lot of money too, though. Like if they were like,
yeah.
I don't remember what the cost of that was, but let's just say it's $40 shipped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they put it up for $65, and then they're going to take a hit on that because of a fee to sell on the platform, and they're going to make $15. Like that, I mean, that makes sense to me. But
that's fine.
$400 is so much money.
The greed, yeah. I saw one that was the most I ever saw it for. Now it's up. I see it on like eBay for like 200 or something. But it I don't know. It makes me want to like press more to prevent that. But also at the same time, there's so many logistical issues.
Yeah.
With that, so.
I'm on both teams. It's kind of weird because I do sell vinyl. Like that's how I make a fair amount of my money, right? Yeah. But I'm all about. I would rather just have access to more, buy them at a lower cost and sell them at a lower cost. Like I would rather deal in volume personally if I had a say in it all. It's a weird thing, man. Like I've been doing this for a long time. I used to own a comic book shop before COVID. And that's really where I got like the bad taste for all this reselling stuff, was because I had people that were my regulars that had a monthly pool box and they could come in and get whatever they wanted. And then I had guys that you only saw them when the good book dropped. And then they wanted to walk in my shop and then give me crap when I wouldn't sell them 10 copies at cover price. I'm like, no. These are for my regular people, man. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's
it's crazy.
as soon as collecting of something becomes cool, that gets put into the mix, and there's not a lot you can do about it. It's a bittersweet thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's something like I want the vinyl that I put out to be special and to be collectible. I'll always put out a variant of 250 that's like some kind of special color, and like that's partially to have like something a little bit different, a little bit collectible, but it's like to help that band, like to help that band, like, all right, if something's a little special, like they'll sell this a little bit better, or the band does a little bit better. So I don't know. It's a weird world we live in with the vinyl collecting.
It absolutely is. And I like the idea of having like 1,000 on black, and then you got 250 and maybe 400 of these two, and those can go bonkers with the price. But we have one for the everyday guy that just wants to have the record.
As long, you should have it available for everyone. Just like, to have the music in some way to buy and support should be available. Yeah,
that's exactly how I feel about it. Yeah. So is Kill Lincoln, like I did a little bit of Googling, but I'd rather just ask you questions, man. So is Kill Lincoln still active right now? Are you guys still
very
music? That's what I thought.
Active.
Yep. I had seen a little bit of this and that, and I know I'd seen your name on some flyers as I don't know, last few months maybe. It might have been an old flyer. I don't really remember, but the comparisons to Less Than Jake, I'm sure you get them a lot. Like, so
yeah,
so,
sure do. Yeah,
because I was listening to it very intently, and I was like, okay, I don't think that there's any way around this. I think the dude just sounds like that. And I was like, so if you got a voice that sounds a certain way, it would be weirder to me if you like tried to change it to not sound a certain way. But how does that make you guys feel? I honestly think it's kind of a great comparison. and it's a good way to
Yeah.
get your name out there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm flattered. Less Than Jake fucking rips. I mean, they're a great
Right,
band.
dude, for real, they're so good.
They like I don't want to say perfected, but they like, that style of like punk, pop punk, ska, like catchy, melodic, like they've done some of the best ska punk there is. So like, yes, I like ska punk in that vein. I have a high tenor voice, a la Roger and Chris sometimes, and I like that style. I was never the biggest Less Than Jake fan actually coming up. So
Okay,
when I started writing music, I was not trying to write Less Than Jake songs.
cool,
If anything, I was trying to write Boss Tone sons.
dude. That's my band too. I love the
Yeah.
Boston, bro.
Yeah, but stuff, it comes out the way it comes out, and it, maybe some of the stuff sounds like Less Than Jake, but I feel like for the people that really dig into it, it's like it kind of falls apart once you actually start listening to the songs. It's like it's not really the same thing. Like, yeah, we're melodic. We have ska parts, we have punk parts. I have a high voice. Like that's where it kind of ends a little bit.
Oh, I agree with that.
But also, I'm if that's an easy touch point for people, be like, oh, they're like Less Than Jake. Like that doesn't bother me. Also, so we did a split with Less Than Jake in
Correct.
2021,
Yes.
right? So we did the
Yes.
Wave Breaker, and that was sort of like a little wink to that. People always say we sound like Less Than Jake, so we were like, oh, if we could make this work, like that would be cool. So
right. I was just curious because that would make me stoked to be compared to any band that I really appreciated.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Yeah,
but you are correct though. It's like most things that you say. This sounds or tastes or looks or feels like this. As soon as the initial kind of dip into whatever that is, it's like okay, yeah, you're right. But the moment you get like some repeat listens, you do hear the differences. It's just like anything else,
Yeah. It's shorthand.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point to be like, oh, if you like this, you might dig this.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Boss Tones, I got to ask you, like, what's the reason behind them being one of your favorite bands? Because I have a reason why too.
I mean, just they were one of the bands that introduced me to ska punk. Coming up, they were one of the first bands that hit me. I think I had an X Games compilation, and
Let's go.
Impression That I Get was the first track on it. I was like, oh yeah, this it just hit me. Band. So there was the Boston's, and then I was from Jersey, so Catch 22 was a band that really hit me hard. Yeah, so it was just something about like the speed, like it's punk, but then like mixing it up with the ska parts, it just like the energy just caught me. And the Boston's mixing in the message, they just like start making me think a little bit, as a teenager. I'm like, okay, I can do this.
They had deceptively heavy lyrics.
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy stuff in there, about all kinds of shit. So the Boston's, and then one of my first, I guess it was my first show that I ever went to by myself. It was me and my buddy Jesse. Was the Boston's and Bigwig at Birch Hill in New Jersey. The Avoid One Thing as well,
dude. Avoid One Thing's a great band.
Yeah, great. Joe's great, and just seeing that show, it just blew me away. I mean, it was my first time seeing him, and that's Birch Hill's a legendary venue in Jersey, and it's a great place to see a show. And it's changed everything for me. The energy of that room. Yeah, it's right after. I think it was like right when Jackknife to a Swan came out. So that record is like really important to me.
That's a good record, man. That record's underrated, dude. That's the one with Mr. Moran on it.
Yep, Mr. Moran.
Dude, that song,
Everybody's Better. Yeah,
dude, I love that record.
It's great.
I don't know how old you are. I'm 41 and
36.
Okay, so we're close enough in age, but I was in high school when The Impression That I Get like was a big song, and I remember hearing that and not being sure how I felt about it, because at that point I was really into being as punk rock as I could be. And I remember going to the record store and like looking and holding it, and then the guy at the counter was like, hey, do you like that band? And I was like, I don't know yet. I'm young. I'm 15, 16 years old. I was like, I don't really know yet. And he goes, don't get that one, man. And he goes, here. And he comes over and he's like digging through stuff. He goes, get this one. And he pulls out Ska-Core, The Devil in Me.
Oh, that EP, dude. Oh,
bro,
so good. That's a great gateway.
That's why I like them. And I was like,
yes,
I picked it up and I was like, that's a great title for an album. I'll buy it on that alone. And then his vocals were so amazing.
Yeah.
and then that led me into appreciating the better, studio recording of Let's Face It. And I got to where I really loved that. And then I just stayed with them. And I've always been a Boss Tones fan. I saw them very soon after I got that EP. I saw them and I had a sign that said I'm bad in plaid, and they pulled me up on stage.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. That was in the 90s. And that was at Fitzgerald's Houston. That was a long time ago, man.
Damn, that's cool.
I was going to tell you a minute ago when you said the Less Than Jake thing about they probably did it the best. I got a lot of flack because I have a video up that says Less Than Jake is the best ska-punk band of all time.
Ooh, you're gonna get some comments, man.
So the reason that I put that on there, because if you see that and then you just listen to the thing, you'll get what I'm doing there. It was basically to grab your attention and then go, what does he mean by that? Because of
course,
I think that my personal favorite is obviously Operation Ivy. Like Rancid's my favorite band. Operation Ivy is basically just Rancid to me. So but Less Than Jake perfected, in my personal opinion, what I think of as ska punk. When I think of ska punk, I literally think of Less Than Jake almost every time. And it's weird, man.
Yeah, it's like they really mixed in like the very accessible, the very like earwormy pop punk into ska punk, but also they kept a lot of the gritty shit. There's a little Op Ivy in there. There's little, but there's also a little bit of like, MXPX in there. It's like it's kind of everything kind of blended. It's blended for that time. Yeah,
exactly. For like that era of pop punk, ska punk stuff. That is like that's the center of the earth for me. And is there other bands that I like as much or better even? Like, of course there is, dude. But it got some people angry, and I'm like, you didn't even listen to the video. I can tell that by your comment.
Of course. I mean,
well, and I'm like,
90% of commenters just look at the title and they're going to leave in comments. Yeah.
That's actually pretty accurate. It's a lot of them. I'm like, if you didn't even listen, then I'm not going to respond. If you did listen, and I can tell that, I have no problem talking about stuff. I'm very active in the comments on my channel for that reason. I like to be available for people to ask me questions or to give me crap. What if I did give them a bad go on something?
Yeah. That's fair. Yep.
What are some of your favorite bands like outside of let's say outside of ska punk? Do you still listen to a lot of punk rock stuff? Or should I say still, do you listen to a lot of punk rock?
Yeah, I mean, I listen to all kinds of shit. I know, like Rancid is a ska punk band, but I've always loved Rancid. And I've always loved like Tim Armstrong's solo stuff and like Tim Time Bomb stuff. Now I know it's still into ska. Like I'm still leaning towards ska, but like that's just where my brain goes.
I don't even look at them as a ska punk band, bro. Like to me, they're just a punk band.
Yeah. Big, like a lot of the bands like Hellcat that weren't ska, but like the Distillers, big Distillers fan.
Hellcat stuff was so important in the 90s, man.
Yeah, that's something I tapped into a little bit, not on the ska side. But yeah, I mean, I really like coming from Jersey, like bands like Lifetime, Kid Dynamite, like more like that hardcore, melodic hardcore.
Yes.
Paint It Black, basically anything that Dan Yemin has done. I'm like, yeah. Dude. So I've definitely, I hardcore side, melodic hardcore.
Do you remember that band Champion?
Yeah. Yep.
Bro, definitely. They had that little album called Promises Kept. Bro, I'm telling you, to this day, I can't get more pumped up than when I hear the first like 3 tracks on that. I'll stage dive in my room.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I have a cousin who is like, we were both into ska at the same time, but he was like really getting into hardcore. So he was like sending me shit. He's sending me Cold World and early Turnstile shit. He was sending me. And I was like, yeah, he got me to like Set Your Goals. It's on the popular punk side. But
awesome.
It's a great fucking band. I mean, like awesome.
Dude.
So like all that kind of shit. Like, yeah, I if it's not ska, it's probably something like that for me. Yeah.
It's that I was kind of trying to figure that out because I'm more of a street punk type of dude. But I like all that stuff though. I mean, if it's punk adjacent, I'm at least listening to it once. Like I'll give anything a listen, man. But I really like that easy core combination of like pop punk with breakdowns type of stuff. Yeah, man. And there's so many bands I don't even know about yet. Anybody's watching this, if you got a list of a few bands, dude, throw them in the comments, man. I want to know.
There's tons of great new bands. I tried to do a lot of that for like early Kill Lincoln stuff. I was like, what if we were a ska punk band, but like we did like easy core stuff. So we had like some breakdowns and stuff, but it wasn't really our thing. So it was
I'm all about that idea though. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, but I think I kind of abandoned that because like there are other bands who can do that and do it well. And like now we've leaned more towards like we're just gonna play fast punk stuff and like just try to have fun. So
hell yeah, having fun's the most important part of all of this.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because that's the whole idea of being a punk rocker or a ska fan. It's like, you're like, no, dude, like, I'm not really with the normal stuff. I'm going to do what I want and have some fun doing it.
Yeah.
Now, there is a political leg to that too, but punk started as like a, nah, I'm going to do what I want type of thing more than anything. That's awesome, dude. I really enjoyed the easy core stuff. I used to be pretty deep into hardcore. Still am, honestly. I'm going to a Death Before Dishonor show tonight. So, I mean, I still love hardcore. But I remember being kind of the only guy in the scene down here that was into anything other than hardcore. So I would go like, I'd like ride up listening to Voodoo Glow Skulls. And they're like, what is this crap you're listening to? And I'm like, bro, first off,
so
I'm from
expand
Houston,
your horizons.
Yeah. I was like, I'm from Houston. I don't love anything with a Latin flavor, man. Like, what are you talking about? What is this crap? This is amazing. Suicide Machines always kind of made people happy, though. That's a great band.
They can step in both worlds. They're truly one of those bands that they can live in the hardcore world. They can live in the punk world. You know, like
that's the one I was trying to think of a minute ago.
Suicide Machines.
Yeah, Suicide Machines and Boss Tones. I really like Dickie's new project, The Defiant. That band is really, really good. They have a couple of good songs. The album comes out, I think, in like a week and a half. Dickie, on the 27th, because Dickie Barrett's actually doing a guided tour at the Punk Museum like the day it comes out. I would wish I had the money to go back and do that. That'd be amazing. Have you been out there to Vegas at all? Check that place out.
I haven't seen it yet. No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah. I mean, it's only like what, 6 months old or something like that. It's pretty new.
Yeah, seems new. It just popped up.
What are the plans for Kill Lincoln in the near future? I guess 2023 is wrapping up. Excuse me. Do you have any goals for early 2024 for either the label or the band? I guess I'd ask.
Yeah, I mean, Kill Lincoln. Like next week, we're doing some shows on the West Coast, and then we're heading to Japan with Catbite. So yeah, we're doing tour of Japan with Catbite.
Actually,
Hey Smith, Tokyo Ska Paradise. So it's literally a fucking it's a dream tour.
That is a dream tour.
There's no other. I mean, if you said what's your fantasy tour of Japan, it'd be like, how about Hey Smith and Tokyo Ska Paradise?
Yeah, so, no, for sure.
It's so that's wild. So that's coming up next week. We got shows in San Francisco and LA right before that.
Nice.
And we're doing shows at the end of the year with Suicide Machines and Against All Authority. Against All Authority is another great fucking band.
Man, yes, they are.
Speaking of ska-core, that's
right.
But then, next year we've got some stuff in the works that we haven't announced yet, and show-wise, but we're also definitely working on some new music. So,
man, I'd love that. I can't wait to hear that. Yeah,
me
hopefully
too.
my right.
Yeah.
My idea for the channel was to like talk about the bands such as Rancid, Less Than Jake, Suicide Machines, Blink-182, whatever, man. And then while I'm doing that, as I'm growing my platform, to still talk to these smaller artists, because I don't know, I don't really care who's what as far as like their title in the scene. I just want to talk to people about music. And I thought, man, it'd be really cool to eventually get a platform that was some kind of substantial and bring on smaller artists. So that's cool, man. I would love to talk to some. I got a couple of things coming in the near future as well.
Nice.
Man, Japan. The culture in Japan is so different. Like if you don't know anything about it, because I don't know a lot about it. I've never traveled or anything, but punk rock is pretty big in Japan. But it's different. Yeah. It's different though. Like they have a different way of looking at it.
Yeah,
it's a lot more. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we went in. So Kill Lincoln went to Japan in 2019. We did a short tour there, and I was just blown away by just like the enthusiasm of the crowds. Like I don't think the crowds like knew us per se, but they love ska, and they love punk, and they were excited, and they're very supportive. Which is great. I mean, it was an amazing time, and also just like the way a band is treated there, the hospitality, the technical things are, every band gets a sound check. It's very thorough. You all get a lighting person, whatever kind of venue it is, whether it's tiny or whatever, you're getting special treatment. They're taking care of you. So really cool experience to go over there.
That's awesome.
And also really like, it just reminds me that like, even though we're not speaking the same language, like we made some great friends there. I didn't really like have any actual conversations with any of our buddies in Free Kick or SMN, but just playing punk rock together, playing ska music together, like you become good friends. Like you're hugging, high fiving, you're having a beer after the show. Like it's an instant uniter. It just reminds me that
100%.
No matter where you are. Yep.
Well, it's its own language. You don't have to speak the same language to know a good riff or a good dance or a good stage dive. Like it all speaks the same language.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Dude, I can't tell you how many records I have that are in French, Japanese, and Spanish. Those 3 languages, I got tons of stuff. And I don't speak either of them. So it doesn't matter. I just listen to it and go, dude, hell yeah. I can feel what this dude's talking about. I don't have to know the words he's saying. It's just another instrument to me.
Right. Yep. Yeah, hell yeah.
Man, that's cool. When are y'all going over to Japan?
We leave on the 23rd. Today's the 12th. Yeah.
Oh, you're going like right now. That's
like
amazing.
2 weeks. Yeah.
That's really cool, man. How do you feel about Catbite and their success, man? I feel like it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them almost. And I don't even really know about that.
I couldn't be happier for them. I mean, it couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people. They're also sweet and genuine. They're the real deal, you know. There's no bullshit from Catbite. They're all great friends. They are making great music. They're having a blast, and it's really cool to see them get some opportunities. And they're working hard. It's not like nothing's being handed to them. They're working their asses off. They're touring. It's fun just to get to Japan. They're on tour with the Bouncing Souls, and they'll be up through Canada. So they literally they play a show. They play their last show in Canada with the Bouncing Souls. That night they fly right to Japan. They land at like 7 a.m, and then they play that show in Japan that night. It's like, so they're working. They work so hard, and
that's amazing.
I couldn't be happier for them. Yeah, and every cool opportunity they get, I'm fucking stoked for them. So,
they're a band that I've been a fan of for a few years now, and I constantly, because they were one of the first people to give me an opportunity to like talk on one of my. I didn't have any following yet. I was like, hey, I don't have anybody, but I'm trying to start this little podcast. Would you guys do it? And they're like, hell yeah. And they've come on twice, and they're talking about coming on in like January, I think. And so like I'm a forever fan of that band. They met my daughter. They put her on the guest list at that show, bro. It was so awesome. Nice. She's got the little ticket that says like Streetlight Manifesto Catbite guest list. It's like they printed one out and gave it to her at the door, and I've got it in a little book for her. But they're really sweet people. You're spot on with that, man. They're like some of the nicest people I've ever talked to in the music industry, because I don't know. I've seen a lot of people start a band, get pretty popular, and then like they do a couple of big tours, and then they no longer have time to answer a phone call. And I'm like, I've known you 15 years, man. You're not gonna. I was just calling to see how you were doing.
Yeah.
You know, calling to see if you wanted to have a beer or something. It's really nice to have some grounded folks in your circle.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. And, you know, like, I don't know I can't speak for anybody's situation, but, you know, sometimes you get busy, but sometimes stuff happens. But also, you know, it's good to stay grounded, you know, and Catbite are very grounded people. And, you know, it's not, we act like they're, you know, it's like they're not on like MTV or whatever. They're not like on the radio, but I think someday if any band could like kind of break out, we talk about, even though we don't really care about that, it would be great if it was. I think it could be Catbite if that was.
I do too.
Gonna happen. Yeah.
Well, when they did that thing with Brian Fallon, I was so Gaslight Anthem is one of my top 5 bands. So when I saw that, I was like, what? And I you know, I bought a couple of the flexies. I don't know. That's one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Like, it was so unexpected to me.
Pretty awesome. Yeah. And being a Slackers cover too. It's cool.
I know, right? Like, what a great song to choose. And they did it up. That video they did with all the makeup on and stuff was just so much fun. Great group of people, man. Catbite's awesome.
Yeah, that was all from Timmy's brain. That was all his idea. Yeah, great. They met Brian, and like, you know, they're just, Catbite's really easy to get along with, and they're easy to start talking to. So I can imagine that, like, you know, they meet somebody and they're going to be friends really fast. So it's just the kind of cool stuff that happens when you make friends.
Right. Music. Well, if anybody that's not familiar with them is curious, go look up some of their live footage. They're a lot of fun live, and they're really infectious. And like like I had never seen them live until I took my daughter. Like, so I didn't know what to expect. And by the time we
Mhm.
left, I was just like, dude, that was amazing. Like I was so
Yeah.
pleased. And they, their interaction with the crowd was really, really good.
Yeah. It's cool to I saw Catboy. I didn't see their first show, but it was like one of their first shows right after they became a band. And they're all super talented musicians, and you could tell that right away. But in the past couple years after they've done, they've been touring so consistently, been
Bro, a
playing
lot.
these big venues with these big bands. They have put so much work into their show, and you can really tell, like, it's not just them playing their shit and getting out. They're putting on a great show.
But
And
it's choreographed now.
yeah, it's like, well, but also like Britt Keeps is very natural and like always interacting with the crowd, always doing something different. It's just they've just really like honed in like their sound. They sound tight.
Correct.
Having
Yeah.
fun. They've really nailed it. Yeah.
And by choreographed, all I really meant was like they know, like, hey, at this point in the set, I'm gonna be playing this. I'm gonna walk over and kind of do this because it just gives a visual that really is impactful. And I think that's what I meant by choreographed, not so much dancing, but they've really gotten in
it's practice.
So like they've gotten comfortable in their own skin. And like you said, they've become very tight as a band. And there's very few things that are as important as that when you're playing live music, is being tight. Because
being tight and having fun. Those two, they kind of like work. They work at odds with each other sometimes. If you have a little too much fun, but
they really
I'd say my own band leans towards the having too much fun part, but that's okay. We're having a good time.
I used to have my band used to get mad at me not mad, but like just irritated because I was the singer. I didn't play an instrument because I can't play and sing, but I would help write the songs like on guitar and such. When we would play live, I would get oftentimes I'd get pretty drunk, and we would, and I was like,
sure.
I'm always about like pushing the envelope. And we played in Austin at one point at this place called Red 7, and I climbed up on this. Dude, I don't know what it was, man. It was like this big giant speaker. It was like twice the height of a full cabinet. It was huge. It was gigantic. I don't know what it was, but I was standing up on it. It might not have been that high. It's probably like 6-7 feet in the air. It was taller than I am by quite a bit. I climbed up on it, and my band was playing. And I just decided to jump off, but not onto my feet. And I just dove off at this thing. Ooh. And like you could hear the microphone was like, and I was.
What did you land on? Did you land on somebody?
On like a wooden stage. Like, yeah, it hurt. Dude. It was awesome. But we were opening for a band called Folsom, and when that guy's other band played in Houston the last time, I went and spoke to him, and he was like, I remember you. He's like, you stayed with us at Justin's house. And he's like, you're the guy that jumped off their cabinet. I was like, yeah, bro, shit hurt. Yeah. He was like, that was crazy, bro. But,
so you made a memory. As long as you didn't hurt, as long as you didn't cause lasting damage.
Dude, I've done some dumb shit, man. I jumped off of a roof of a tattoo shop onto a minivan once to scare my friend. And I didn't think about the fact that there was like a luggage rack on there. So when I did like a jumping WWE elbow, I landed on it and broke some ribs, dude. Bro, we were doing like that whole Jackass and CKY thing so far before that shit was even popular. It was just wild. Back then, we didn't have cell phones. Like when I was doing all this stuff, we didn't have cell phones with cameras. Internet wasn't really it was like you had dial up, but like we were just doing shit to do stuff. And
when you're bored, you do a lot of dumb shit.
That's exactly what it is. It was all boredom, But that's amazing, dude. I can't imagine going to Japan and playing some shows there, though. That's up on my like bucket list of things to do, man, for sure.
Dude, it's an experience. Yep.
Right.
It's fucking awesome.
Do you have any goals with your label, other than stuff that you've currently accomplished, of course? But would you like to get some distribution through a place that can get you into stores of some kind, or because I mean, everything I've bought from you, I've bought directly from you.
So I have a great distributor who does put our records into stores.
Okay.
But that's all, it's all part of the game though. Just because, because I'm basically competing with the bigger labels who have more influence.
Right.
And when a record store only has so much money, I mean, you're acutely aware.
Yes.
Sure. But like when you're
very aware.
When you're doing your buying, you're going to buy stuff that is a sure thing to sell, or you've only got X amount to spend. So it's still a struggle to actually get the stores to buy from my catalog, but a lot are, and a lot do, and are carrying it. So I'm thankful for that. And I think like goals I've got are just to keep expanding that kind of stuff, keep expanding, ways to get the records into new stores. I've got a great Australian distributor. I've got a good Japan distributor. Got a good partner in the UK, but I'm also looking to try to expand my Euro distribution, because that's really tough. It's really tough to break into that right now.
Yeah.
I just want to keep doing right by my bands, and I want to put out consistently what I think is really high quality, interesting music that's doing something new with ska punk, or doing something great with ska punk, and or just ska. I just want to keep it going, man. I mean, I don't have like, big goals of like trying to like have tons of employees or anything. Like I just want to keep doing right by my bands and finding new good music and helping get it out there. So, yeah.
Well, if you have too big of a goal, it'll get overwhelming. So it's probably nice, smart to. Well, I mean, I'm kind of I get excited easily, and I'm like, oh, I could do this, and this. My wife's like, yo, chill. I need my wife here to be like, pump the brakes, like do this, and this first.
Yeah.
And if you accomplish that, then try this.
Yeah. My goal is to stay in business. I mean, if I can keep this going,
that's the best goal you could have.
And it's not fucking easy. It's hard. No. I mean, like every record counts. It's for real.
Somebody asked me about that, because all I do is tapes, man. We do like 100 to 200 pressings. It's all real grassroots. I don't, because it is just me, and I have other things going on too. If I didn't have other things, I might be able to put. And I'm saving for my first vinyl release, hopefully next year, and stuff like that. Yeah. They were asking me like, "What is your goal?" And I was like, "To not lose money."
Yeah.
And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "I just want to put out tapes."
It seems. Yeah.
I was like, "I want to put out tapes. I want to take that money to put out the next tape." And I was like, "If I can just keep doing that, I don't have to constantly dip into my savings.
Yeah,
I'm happy, because I'm not doing it to make a ton of money. I'm doing it, now. Yeah, it'd be nice one day, but like right now, I'm trying to think realistically, and I'm like, okay. What is my actual goal for this year, not 10 years from now? Like this year, don't lose $2,000. Let's see if we can,
yeah. I mean, that was my goal when I started I mean, I was like, as long as I'm not losing a ton of money, I'm fine with this. And it took a while, the first 2 years, like, it did lose a bunch of money. And then I think maybe third year, as things started to break even, I'm like, oh, okay, that's great. And then the fourth year started making a little bit of money, and I'm like, all right, great. So if it can actually sustain, I quit a full-time job about 2 years ago just to do this.
Awesome.
And it's not because it makes me so much money. It's because
it takes so much time.
It takes so much time. I had to make a choice.
Dude, I already know.
Yeah, and it's making a little bit of money, but it's probably making me a minimum wage. Like that's cool. Yeah. I do a lot of work on the side to try to fill that gap. But I'd like to keep making this sustainable and like keep making this be the main focus. That's my goal. Like if I can really maintain focus on this and just have this be sustainable, like that's great. But also like I want this to be sustainable for more of the bands on the label. I want them to be able to like get paid in a way that is actually helping them, or doing something with their music that's actually like, so that's also one of the goals. Yeah.
I mean, it's very clear that you care about the artists that you are working with, and that's extremely important. I've seen a lot of weird things happen in this scene of people, this industry, if we want to call it that. And, I feel like you've got a good head on your shoulders. I feel like we have a lot in common too, because I don't have like a full-time job. My record store is only open on the weekends. And so I have that little spot. I bartend like 2 nights a week, and then I do YouTube, and I make all my own merch. I print my own shirts. I do everything myself. I print my own patches, my shirts. I do the tapes. So it's like drops. Yep. That's what I meant earlier about drops in the bucket. I just try to do anything I can to meet that goal every month of income, and I can pay my bills, and then I can just keep doing it. If I can just keep doing it, and because that's it's
exactly it. Yep.
It's so difficult. It's so difficult.
Yeah, it is. But, and it's unpredictable too, which is
very. Have you ever put out a record, and as soon as you put the money in, the band goes on hiatus?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
that just happened to me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "All right, well, we'll figure it out." I mean, they're good dudes, so I'm not like tripping, but I was like, "Oh no, this is scary. I just started this. What am I doing?" But
I haven't had the hiatus thing, but I've had a couple bands who have sort of maybe tuned out a little bit. After the record came out, which is almost the same.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
I was telling them, I said, well, because they were asking me questions like, hey, when are we going to get our product? And I said, well, I'm just in a week or two. I'm waiting on people to send it to me. That's all I'm waiting on. It's already paid in full. And I said, well, if you guys aren't even playing shows, how are you going to move it?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. And I was like, well, at least you've got a good EP. Like it's really good. Like it's the quality of the work is awesome. So I'm not too concerned. I mean, there's a lot of bands that I listen to that aren't around. So I mean, you put it on Bandcamp, you should put it on YouTube. People
you do your best.
Yeah,
you do your best.
It's definitely a labor of love, man.
It really is. Yeah,
dude, it's awesome, man.
No other reason. Yep, no other reason to do it for sure.
No, there is no
unless you really love it. Yeah.
The band or the label or art of almost any kind. Yeah. The only reason you would do that is because you enjoy it, and then if you get something out of it and it becomes a job, good. You got your one of the lucky ones. But
no, I feel so insanely lucky that I get to do this. It's hard and it's not making me a millionaire, but I get to do this and I get to play in my band. Because that was another big part of it too. Like quitting the job, it's like, well, I don't have to ask for time off to go tour. I can just go do it. So it freed up a lot of that time too. So. Yeah, I'm very lucky that I get to do both of these things, and I'm going to try to do it for as long as I can. That's the goal.
Well, I'm really happy for you. I'm proud to see you doing it. I'm glad that there's a place for bands that sound like that to go. I'm sure you've got a bar set where you want a certain quality, but everybody can at least talk to you and say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And there's a place that you can at least go and see where you kind of fit in. I guess is what I'll say. Like. You don't want every kid that started a band 3 weeks ago to send you demos and shit, but like there's a place for that kind of music.
I try to respond. I get a lot of demos and stuff, and I try to respond because I remember how I felt when I was sending demos and I didn't get responses. But also now I'm realizing like it is hard to respond to everything. I mean, it actually is harder once you're getting a lot of stuff. So it's tough. And then also, once you do respond, and I try to be nice, you get a lot of people who are assholes back, I try to be as nice as possible, and I'll get people that are like, all right, well, fuck you. All right, well, that makes me not want to respond. So.
Right. You're like, well, I guess I dodged a bullet. Like,
yeah, right, exactly. I feel like that on a couple of releases for sure. I feel like I dodged a couple bullets.
That's wild, man. I don't do the label thing to that degree, but I do review music, and I get a lot of like more than I would have ever imagined, because I don't consider what I do to be, I don't know. I just do it because I love doing it, like you said. But like, I get a lot of, hey, would you review this on your channel? And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, sure, if it's like reasonably good quality. Like, I don't want to just have some 16-year-old in his room with a, shitty. I don't know. There's a lot of like hip hop stuff that comes through. It's just.
Yeah, well, you can't do there's only so much you can do, right? I mean, if you're reviewing music, like how much can you reasonably review in a week or a month? Like, not everything, it's like same deal with the label. Like I would love to put every band I like on my record label, but I can only put out I can only put out so many releases a year. Like, I think some people don't understand that like resources are limited, like I've only got X amount of money like to spend on a pressing at a time. So, you can't, I don't know. You can't work with everybody. It's just impossible. And then some people take that the wrong way. So it's like,
people are sensitive.
What are you going to do about it? Yeah, it's art. You're sensitive. You're sensitive about music. It happens.
You have to think about it, because it goes from like enjoyment has to cross over with like what's reasonable. And like you were talking about buying records at a store, if some dude's the buyer and they see like, okay, I can buy 3 bands I've never heard of, or I can buy this Operation Ivy and this Boss Tones album. Okay, I might take a chance on one of those bands I never heard of, but I'm buying the Boss Tones and the Op Ivy.
Yeah,
I need
you
that.
You like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I'm reviewing music, it's literally the exact same thing. Okay, every week I can probably do 1 or 2 bands I've never heard of, unless I discover them and like them and go, I want to promote this. But like, if you're sending me stuff, okay, a couple a week I can probably push in there and it won't affect me in a negative way at all. But dude, 10 in a week, I just can't do it. And like,
it's all about just like fitting in the new stuff when you can. It's like you're gonna lean on certain stuff, but also every once in a while you put in something new, something really underground. I think that's what I've been trying to do. But then you're also like, I'm really like butting up against, well, I have to put out something that I know is going to do reasonably well, or else I can't or else I can't do it, or else I can't do the next release. So
Yes.
every release feeds the next one. So
yep.
it's
We
a
deal with
challenge.
some of the same exact issues.
Yeah.
Like I could tell by talking to you for just a short
Yeah.
amount of time. We have
Yeah.
the same kind of problems with
Yeah.
whatever we're doing. And it's like
anybody who
and
runs
people-
any label of any size is running into the same.
dude, even just doing a channel, it's the same exact problems. It's like because I don't deal with money, I
Curation.
deal with time. Yeah,
Mhm.
curation. And it's like kids are sensitive, and so they ask you to do something, and I do try to be polite, and it's wild, man. It is so wild. But well, shoot, man, we've got to about an hour. I really appreciate your time. Is there any bands that you want to shout out before we wrap this up today?
I'm putting out a record right now for a band called Flying Raccoon Suit. They're fucking incredible band.
I think I've heard them before.
Yeah, the range on this record and the singles that are coming out are very ska punk, kind of a little bit of like pop punk, indie, emo, kind of like almost like 90s alt rock kind of stuff in there.
Okay.
But the range on this record, there's technical like metal, there's thrashy shit, there's like growly Cookie Monster vocal, like all kinds of stuff. Great.
I have heard these guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure. Is this their where's this fall in their discography?
This is like their third. I think this is their third LP. Yeah, it's their third LP. They
had something come out last year, didn't they? Okay.
They had a record like 2 years ago called Afterglow. That was a great
that's
record.
the one. That's the one I've heard.
Yeah,
so the record kind of stuck out to me, the Flying Raccoon Suit.
Yeah. It's and almost like you hear the name and they don't sound like the name sounds. It's like
right.
The name is a little cute, but like the band is dead fucking serious.
That's awesome.
So they got a new record coming out on November 3rd, Moonflower. It's a great record. So
hell yeah.
Big shout out to them.
Nice, dude. Well, man, I appreciate your time. I know we just jibber jabbered for an hour, bro. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It was, I will keep in touch and I will stay following what you do and everything that the label does and the bands on your label do. And so I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me and good luck with the channel, man.
Dude, thank you. Dude, travel safe, get home safely, have fun in Japan, dude. Say hi to Cat Bye first. And,
I will.
Hell yeah. Dude, that's awesome, man. Have a good night, dude.
All right, thanks. You too.
All right, later, Mike.